Ladies and gentlemen, the 25-26 season for the Premier League is very close to starting, so I'm going to give a little preview for every single team, and I'll look at their star player and their one to watch, and just a few points, and look at a little bit of their transfer window. So we're going to start off with Arsenal, who done their business in transfer window. Obviously, look at that team. That's quite a strong team, and I think they've added a lot of depth. Obviously, I really like the signing of Zubimendi. He came to that Euros final, came off of Rodri, got injured and bossed it. I like Madueke, obviously on that left-hand side I've put him. And bear in mind, these teams are for the first week, so if there's injuries, I've not put the player in. And this is based off pre-season. I think this isn't their strongest team. Obviously, I think Gyökeres is way better than Havertz, but I think Arteta, the trust that Arteta has in Havertz is like, you can't ignore that. And I think Havertz will start the season. Obviously, yeah, Madueke, I think Arteta's going to give him a go on the left. He can obviously play right, and I'm sure we'll see him in the right, but I think from what I've seen, obviously I'm not an Arsenal fan, but from what I've seen, I think Madueke will play on that left-hand side. You're looking at Mosquera on the bench. I'm going to get onto him. He's a very talented player. And Norgard also for depth. I think to complete the transfer window, I think you need at least Eze or Leao. I think Madueke, I don't mind him at left wing, but I think you just need a established player. Obviously, a lot of hate going on to Odegaard. Well, not hate, but a lot of criticism. And I think it was quite a poor season for his standards last season. And I agree with that, And I think, actually, I saw a compilation, and it was him on that left-hand side. I think, Rice usually plays on the left-hand side as an 8. Odegaard plays on the right-hand side as a 10. I don't think Saka and Odegaard work well together. I think if you'd switch those round and go for Rice on the right, Odegaard on the left. Odegaard on the left, he actually scored a goal against us in the Carabao Cup, and it was a pretty good goal. He's got great footwork. I think he works better as a 10 on the left, and it's the small things, but it will be the small things which play a big part in making sure they don't finish second again this season. So I think that's something you've got to look at. I think I'm going to talk about Lewis Skelly, obviously signing a new contract. How important was that? Real Madrid links? Nah, he loves Arsenal, you can tell it. And Ethan Ranieri, again, there was rumours, Chelsea. No, it was never true. I think those two, getting them on a long contract is so crucial. And obviously that's the thing about if you add Eze with that block and Ranieri off, I think it's vital that Ranieri gets minutes. He played 37 games last season, so he did play quite a lot. But I think the more minutes, the merrier, if you think about it like that. Obviously, Gyökeres, obviously, as I said, I don't think he'll start straight away. I think he'll get put in the Champions League maybe, and then find his way into the Premier League. I think he's a brilliant striker. The amount of balls Saka put across, and there was just no one there to finishing. Havertz ain't really got that position, that poacher element that you really need. He does a lot of work, Havertz, off the ball. I like that, but he just needs a number 9 who's just there, there. And I've seen a lot of clips of Gyökeres, and he's always there, and I really like that. Moving on, I think a big part is the points dropped against West Ham, Newcastle. There's a lot of teams who go to the Emirates will just sit back and get you on transition. They've got to make sure that won't happen, and they've got a quick, smart CDM, unlike, but they got to make sure, they have to make sure that that they do not get caught in transition, and they got to make sure they get breakdown as well. I think Eze was brilliant. I think Eze is really good at breaking down low blocks. I don't know about Odegaard, especially on that right hand side. He ain't that great, because when you're playing against a low block, you want as many players getting forward and weaving their way into the box. So, and the overlaps, Odegaard doesn't give good overlaps on the right hand side. So when you're playing against West Ham, you've got to try work it around them. You need the overlaps. So yeah, last season it was a lot of throwing the ball in the box and it not really going there. And I think the signs of Gyökeres and the signs of Zubimendi will help. I think Eze will be brilliant, but they've got to make sure when you go into West Ham, because they do the Big Six incredibly. They've got an incredible record versus the Big Six. Big Six teams usually play in possession, and Arsenal will get them in transition. It's more open. But when there's no space, and when teams come to sit in their own box, they really struggle. So I think that's something I have to address. Other than that, star player, I think it's got to be Saka. I mean, what a player he is. He's not flashy, but he's very convenient, and he's a very good player, and he's got a brilliant left foot, and he drives it. And injured last season, we saw how much they missed him. He wasn't injured for a long time, but there we are. They still missed him, and if he can keep him fit, I think that'll be a big part of them winning the league. I think it's got to be a trophy for Arteta this season. FA Cup, EFL Cup, whatever it is, it has to be a trophy. But other than that, one to watch as well. I've got to talk about that. Mosquera, I was going to talk about him. Came from Villarreal, under 15 mil, and he's what, 21, I think, and he's played a handful of games. And we saw Saliba get injured a few seasons ago, and obviously, they just didn't look the same. So they got Kiwior, who slotted in when suspensions came in. Obviously played against Real Madrid and absolutely bossed them. But at the same time, they also need cover for that right hand side. And I think Mosquera will offer brilliant cover for Saliba. It will help give minutes out to every single player, and I think it's a brilliant signing. So he's one to watch. Right, moving on now. Aston Villa, who had a brilliant year last season, just missing out on Champions League on the last day. Obviously, Manchester United, Rodgers running through a goal, apparently fouled the goalkeeper. Emery was fuming for many hours later, many days possibly. But that's in the past now. They're playing Europa League football, and I kind of like that. I think Champions League last season they got to the quarter-final, but their squad is getting thinner and thinner and thinner. So will they be able to cope with it? I mean, you look at that team; it's still a good side, but you got to think about, Emi Martinez, Man United interested, a lot of teams interested, and he was obviously crying on the last day, which kind of makes it clear that he may not be at Aston Villa come September. I think it's a very thin squad as well. Obviously I put Konsa and Pau Torres. You've got Bogarde in there as a defender, but you've also got Tyrone Mings, and that's your four centre backs. I just don't think that's quality. And Emery's done a brilliant job. He's spent a fair bit of money, but I think he's done a brilliant job in doing what he's done with Aston Villa. But I don't know if they can do it for another season. That is just because of that depth. I do want to look at. I don't all be negative, so I will look at that midfield and how brilliant it is. Tielemans, Kamara, and Onana. It's still got many years left in it. Onana's young, I think 21. Tielemans, I think 28, 29. Kamara, I think under 28 as well. So it's not especially old midfield. It's full of talent, and they work really well around each other. So Kamara can play as at 6, Onana can play as at 8, and Tielemans can play as an 8. And obviously, you'll usually see a 4-2-3-1 with a Rodgers in the 10. But again, due to that depth, I think for the first game, I think Rodgers picked up an injury as well, which is, I think I just read that on my phone just now, which is quite funny. But strongest team, 4-2-3-1, that midfield is really good. A midfield of, Onana, Tielemans, Rodgers would go really, really well together. But again, I don't know if Rodgers will be in the 11, obviously he's injured, but I don't know who's going to play left wing then, because West Ham are over Ramsey. And so I really think they got to get like 5 or 6 more players if they really want to compete. I don't know if, Man United are getting stronger, Tottenham getting stronger, every team around is getting stronger, and I feel like they're getting slightly weaker. Obviously, they've just got the here we go for Gesand, who is a left winger, a young one. He is good. I've seen good things about him. I've never watched him, but I've heard good things and seen good things about him. But he's not good enough, I don't think. I think you need some top quality in there. That midfield is the strongest thing. I think that is a top midfield, a brilliant midfield, but it's being let down by other areas. I think Marlin, good, not great. I think it's got a lot of work to do in that transfer window. And Bar Watkins, if Rodgers is injured and he's playing that 10 spot, I don't really know where the goals come from. So honestly, you've got that midfield of Tielemans, Onana, Rodgers, and you've got the attack of Watkins. I think everything else except for Konsa is a bit weak. I think you need a right back. Obviously, Martinez, you need a goalkeeper. I'm not convinced on Martin. So there's a lot of things there's lots of holes to fill. And other than that, that's pretty much it. I think obviously star player, I was thinking of going to Rodgers, but after I heard about that injury, changed the last seconds to Watkins. Rashford took his spot, Duran took his spot, but I think this season he's had a brilliant pre-season. He goes down the wings and he takes you on, and I think he's really exciting, and I really like him, and he's got that aggression that you need from a striker, which you don't see much anymore. A lot of strikers nowadays are quite fancy. I think he's got that, that aggressive vibe about him, and he wants to score goals and he'll take you on, and he's a really good player, and he struggled last season. He got a spot taken by Rashford, but I think this season he'll be on it, and I think he'll be their best player. One to watch, obviously I talked about Bogarde, centre back. I think obviously with Mings, I think he'll be fourth choice. So I think if Konsa and Pau Torres, one of those two gets injured, Bogarde can step in there. He played right back last season as well. He got a fair few appearances, but I think for me, even picking that one to watch was quite hard because it's such a slim squad. So I think signings are needed. I think it's really important to get them in. Rightio, Bournemouth. So they obviously got to look at the elephant in the room. They have lost Dean Howson. He's obviously gone to Real Madrid, and when you know your player's good when they go to Real Madrid. He was cheap as well. They didn't get too much money for him, 50 million, and he's a young centre back, and he was crucial. I think he got a little bit overrated to the end, but he was crucial. He was calm, he was composed, he was brilliant on the ball, and I think Real Madrid have signed a brilliant player there. And on that other centre back is Zabrani, and he is looking like he's going to go to PSG. So I think, they had a brilliant year last year, but I think they're really losing their key players. Zabrani is a leader. I think he's better than Howson. I think Howson got a bit overrated. I think Zabrani was doing a lot of the work for him in that centre back pairing. But I think another reason why I'm not too stressed for Bournemouth fans about the leaving Howson leaving is that because of Senesi, and he didn't play much last season. He was injured. He had all sorts of injuries. So he's a left centre back. I think there's not much between him and Howson, and every time he played last season it was few, but he was brilliant. I really liked him. He's a leader as well, and he'll go flying into challenges. I think if they can keep Zabrani, I don't think they will. I think that centre back pairing is really good. I think obviously they lost Kirkes as well. Trafford, I haven't watched much of him, but he's got big boots to fill. Smith, I really throughout the team is really missing. Similar to Aston Villa, there's holes of quality, but you got to look on the good side. They've kept Semenyo, who's absolutely brilliant. You can play both sides. They've kept Koiva, brilliant, and they've got a very strong attack. They will score goals. Iraola plays brilliant football, and they will score goals, and they've got a good team. And that midfield, Lewis Cook, there's still huge amounts of quality. There's no way they'll go down this season, which is, every team's got to look at that, essentially. But they've got a really strong team, they've got a brilliant midfield, and they've got depth. They've got so much depth. I just think, I don't think they'll push for Europe, because I think they're missing bits of quality, and I think other teams are getting better, and they've obviously lost their players. But I still think they'll play around mid-table. I really like Petrovic as a signing as well. I think the most important thing, which I would have learned from last year, is to keep that consistency. Last year, brilliant first 19 games. They were pushing, and then football fans thinking, who is this Bournemouth team? And then the second half of the season, it all fell apart. They dropped points in silly areas, and honestly, they drew to us. And when you're drawing to West Ham, that shows you're not worth Europe. And obviously, they ended up petering down to the table, to mid-table. So it obviously didn't go the way they wanted it to last season. But I think they've got good potential, and maybe they could push for Conference League. I think they'll absolutely love Conference League, Bournemouth. I think it really suits them, and it's what the competition was made for, clubs like Bournemouth. So I'm going to talk about the star player. That's Semenyo. Brilliant. His footwork's great. His dribbling is great. He's pacey, and he is so hard to deal with. And he's got a shot on him, and he is a massive part. And I think Bournemouth fans will be so glad they didn't lose him. I think they would be upset about Howson, but they'll be glad they kept Semenyo. And I'm actually going to look at player which isn't in the starting 11 for the one to watch. Is Krupi. He scored 22 goals for Lorient in French Ligue 2, which is the second division. He's 19 years old and a striker, and he'll be the backup to Evan Nilsson. Evan Nilsson last season was injured 3 months in I think around January, February area, and I think that was a big part of them dropping off. And I think Krupi scoring 22 goals last season, obviously it's the second division, you've got to take that into factor. But Krupi, he is a very good player. He's rapid, and West Ham wanted him. Actually, I'll tell you a story. We were linked with him, and then I was like, okay, and he was advancing, and I put my phone down. It was transfer deadline day, and I pick it up, and he says he's signed for Bournemouth. I think it's because he came from Lorient, who is the sister club of Bournemouth. They multi-club ownership. They share it. So I think I think they've got a good season coming. I think they've got quality players. Even I haven't talked about Cook yet, and he's brilliant controller of the ball. And I think Semenyo will be able to push them up. They will not get relegated, for sure they won't. But I don't know if they've got enough to stay in that Europe race. Last year was a year, man, and they missed out on it. Up next, I'm going to be talking about the Bees. Brentford. So they finished 10th last season. We were quite good, had strong quality, but that was under Thomas Frank, and that's when they had Mbuemu, and that's when they had Wissa. They don't have those players anymore, so it's going to be difficult. It's going to be very difficult, actually. Obviously, this is the team I've put out. Obviously, you've got to look at the new signing, Kelleher. Obviously, it's a risky one, but Brentford like taking their risk, And he obviously has played for Liverpool, has made some big saves, and now has come in for Alisson, who's quite injury prone for a goalkeeper. And at the same time, you've got to think, like, he had Van Dijk and Konate in front of him. Can Collins and Van der Berg do the same job Van Dijk and Konate did? I'm not sure, and I think that's something which is really interesting. Will he be able to do it? Am I going to eat my words? I don't rate him. I think he's kind of been carried by that incredible Liverpool team last season, but we'll have to see. I mean, he was 12.5 million, which is a bit of a steal for a goalkeeper, a youngish goalkeeper, I guess. So yeah, Rico Henry I put in there because I've only put Rico Henry in there because the sheer lack of players they've got. Like, I had to put this part on left wing. I was like, who's going to play left back? So I would put Henry there. I think that makes a little bit of sense, but I haven't seen Henry play in a while. Obviously, tore his ACL, I think, last season, and obviously he was an FPL player who got good points, so got a good lot of points. So yeah, I think that's interesting to see Henry back in there. Jordan Henderson, obviously, signed him on a free. I think that's very exciting. Bit of experience to the team. I think he'll work well with Jensen as a control of the midfield, a bit of leadership in there, and then you can kind of have those two and then let Damsgaard run through. And Damsgaard was brilliant last season, which kind of gives me a little bit of sense that they won't go down. But I think they've definitely got to think about relegation without Thomas Frank now. Obviously, the new manager is Keith Andrews. He's actually their former set piece coach, and I don't know what Brentford are doing there. They decided to do that, but so going out and getting a new manager. But each to their own. Maybe it'll work. Who knows? But other than that, I don't really think there's a lot of positives to take this season. I don't really think so. Obviously, a player who kind of went underrated last season was Lewis Potter. Yeah, he played left back, but we'll see how he can do it left wing. If you're going to talk about their key player, I think it's going to be Sharda. He was a lot in Mbeumo and Reese's shadow. He played a massive part. It was obviously a front three of Mbeumo on the right, Reese on top, Sharda in the left, and it was about the Mbeumo and Reese double. And I'm like, come on, man, Shard's in there, man. Kevin Shard is in there. You got to recognise him, and he's incredibly quick forward. He's brilliant in transition, and he worked really well under Thomas Frank. He's a really quick, clinical left winger. I think in the left winger market, there's not many good left wingers. I think he's severely underrated. So last year, I think he would have been the one to watch, but now I think he's going to be the man who's going to do all they can to keep him up. Honestly, so and I think the one to watch this year is Thiago, who came from Brazil last season. First game, I think it was pre-season. I think he got a horrible leg injury. So, and he's played really well in this pre-season. He's a big guy, he's a destroyer. He'll chase after the balls, a bit like Watkins, quite aggressive forwards. And he's got really good movement as well. And he's not especially old. So I think if Wiesa does go, I think Thiago's a very, very good replacement. A bit of a bully of a striker. And I'm really excited to see how he does because, this is a big, scary Brazilian striker, and this is his chance after missing out last year. Seagulls are up next, Brighton, and oh my goodness, was I so excited to talk about Brighton. I'm going to go straight out and say, I think they can really challenge Europe this year. I think this is the strongest this team has been in a while, and honestly, Brighton gets a lot of credit. I think they're a very overrated team as a whole, especially throughout that De Zerbi period where, oh my goodness, every time when I went on social media, all they talked about was how good De Zerbi was. I never ever rated De Zerbi, and I never ever rated Brighton then. But this is where I rated them. Hurst's first year was never going to be smooth, right? Yeah, and it wasn't. And they were all right, but again, it was mid-table, and there was never really once where they were in the Europe shout. It was smooth, but it wasn't incredible. And I think second year is where they'll really hit off. He's a young manager. He needed that first year to adapt to the Premier League. I think it's really important. And there's been a big change. They've lost Purvis Stupian, which a few years ago he was top left back in the league, And not only this, they've lost João Pedro. He's gone to Chelsea. It's a very good sign of Chelsea. I'll get onto that later. At the same time, I don't really think I think they've replaced really well De Cooper from Belgium. I think he'll fill in Estupiñán's boots really, really well, and yeah, I don't think that will really affect them. I think they need maybe another number 9, but I think the depth they've got is incredible, man. Like, this is the starting 11, and I haven't really thought about Bonuate, who's the right winger from Argentina, Julio Narciso. This is also missing Rota, O'Reilly. There's so many players which which I haven't included in this 11, who could easily start and put a great shift in. I think it's a very young team, which is good. You've got energy in that team. Carlos Baleba. I think that midfield. I think Gomez is around 25. I think Baleba, just guessing, 22. I think Ayari is around 21. Very young midfield, just exactly what you want. Full of energy, and I think that's really good. And honestly, I think, they can easily dominate every team they play against this season. It's a very, very good team. And it's, as I was saying, it's a young team, but it's got filled with experience. I think Dunk, Milner in there as well. You don't want too young of a team because you need the leadership. And I think old players are kind of getting bin off as football goes on. But I think you've got to have those. You've got to have your captain Dunk, and I think they can have a really good season this season. I've gone for star player Baleba. Obviously linked with Man United in the recent hours, but I think he'll stay. I think Brian would demand a great fee. He is so good at picking up the ball from the back, turning and pushing it forward. He's got brilliant tackle on him. He scored a screamer versus West Ham last season, and he just bosses that midfield. He can take it on 1v3, and he does so much of the work. It allows everyone else to be a bit more loose when they play. As for the one to watch, he's not on here. It's actually Costulas, I think that's how you say his name. 18 years old, striker. I think he was around 34 million. And that's why I was kind of doubting when I did say the number 9. This is the number 9. He's 18 years old, and he is tipped to be. You don't pay 30 or 40 million for an 18-year-old bad. You don't, and he's tipped to be one of the best when he's older. And I think Welbeck can easily mentor him, and I think having Welbeck and Costulas working together, on that training ground, I think he'll be really good, and I think it's something they could be really, really excited about. And obviously, it's risky spending that money on 18-year-olds. Because he hasn't shown too much. You don't know what you're going to get, but what he can give, I think, will be something special. Now we get to talk about a newly promoted team, and it's Burnley. They finished second in the Championship last season, and it was taken down to the last day. Manuel Solomon obviously scored a goal for Leeds for them to win it, but Burnley were brilliant throughout the season. Second place, I don't think it does them justice, honestly. And obviously, the manager is Scott Parker. Scott Parker, I tell you what, obviously, Fulham struggled in the Premier League, Bournemouth struggled in the Premier League, so it's going to be really interesting. And Scott Parker sets up in quite a defensive way, to say the least. But it is effective. It's very boring, but it's effective. They got only 16 goals conceded in 46 matches last season. 46 games played, and they only conceded 16, which is incredible. And if you be honest with me, I'm looking at that team right now, and I don't really know any of the players. Obviously, I know Josh Cullen, the new captain, because that's the role given to him after Josh Brownhill left. And I know how much of a passionate player, how he throws himself into challenges, how much he loves playing football. I know all about that. Obviously, he played for West Ham, and obviously got a tooth knocked out of his mouth once in a cup game. And I think the elephant in the room for Burnley is that guy at right back, Kyle Walker. I can't believe it. Obviously, he was at AC Milan 6 months ago, and now he's at Burnley. So I think that's really interesting to see how they do and how he does in that team. Has he got the quality? Is he still Premier League quality, or is it over now? I think that would be something to talk about. As for the transfer window, they brought in Hartman, who, from what I've heard, is good. They brought in Walker, good. Obviously, Dubravka's not there yet, but I'm putting him in on the assumption that he will sign, and obviously, I think it's a smart signing. Experience. He's not the best distribution, not the best shot stopper, but he's still Premier League quality. So I think he's still a top player. Now, where do the goals come from? Because that attack, obviously, Marcus Edwards used to play for Tottenham, and he was really good for Sporting as well. But in the Championship, he didn't look incredible. Like, this guy was playing at Sporting was playing for Sporting not long ago, and when he went to the Championship, he didn't blow me away. Lyle Foster, clinical number 9, but I don't think he's incredible. Jadon Anthony, obviously at Leeds recently, and he didn't blow me away. So the defence, incredible. But everything else from that, I don't know where the goals are coming from. And obviously they've just signed Armando Broja for £20 million, which is really questionable considering he hasn't been good since like 2021 when he was at Southampton. I like him a lot, Brian. I hope he does well, but I think it's incredible that they spent that much money. I think that's something I'll talk about Chelsea, how they manage to get these fees for these players. But I do want to talk about Hugo Chukwu, who's the one to watch, and I haven't put him in there. I don't know why I haven't, and that is a mistake I made. But he should be in there. So imagine he's in there because he was part of Southampton's shocking campaign last season. But he was one of the bright stars. He scored a really good goal against West Ham, and that's what really opened my eyes to him when I saw him playing against West Ham live in the stadium. He just moves really well. He's really good on the ball. He's really calm, and he's really ever gives the ball away. I think his passing accuracy is really high actually, and he's this big guy, tall, and he's built. He's tall, but he's still really like he ain't really got that bozo gene. He's not clunky, and I think he moves really well. He's really complete, and I think he was definitely close to being star player. But I got one to watch just because he was very good at Southampton. One of the brighter things at Southampton. There wasn't much good things there, but talk about Southampton. But he's coming to Burnley now. I think he will. I think they've done really well to spend. I think he's only 20 mil, same price as Broja, which is crazy to me. And I think the star player for me is going to be a Steve. Obviously, lots of clubs going for him, but they managed to keep him timed down to a contract, and rightly so. He was a massive part of them only conceding 16 goals last season. So I think Steve will be the leader and I think if Burnley are to stay up, I think he'll be a big part of it, and I think Hugo Chukwu should be the one to watch. Up next is the £1 billion bottle jobs. It's Chelsea, and looking at that team, it looks good. It looks really good. I think there's definitely a few spaces they could improve on, but I think if you add Javi Simons to that, take Gusto out, put James back to that right back, and obviously then Vert into that centre back, and you add Simons in there, it'll be really good. Obviously, I think the idea is it'll be a back three of James, Chalobah, Colwill, and then Caicedo, Enzo, and then obviously I think Palmer, Simons, and Pedro. So obviously I think Neto will end up getting replaced by Simons, and yeah, I think there's a lot of quality in that team. I think they spent a lot of money and now it's finally working. And I think I want to talk about quickly a lot of complaints about how Chelsea spend money, but realistically they do it really well. They find the way around PSR. That's why haven't really got any issues, because when they're selling Felix for 45 million, they got profit on Kieran Dewsbury-Hall. They're getting profit on every player. They bring young players in, and okay, if what doesn't work out, they sell them for 20 more profit. It works out, they get a brilliant player. It doesn't work out, 20 more profit. It's such a good, and I think there's a lot of doubts over Todd Bowley, but whoever's doing that transfer work, they are absolutely in a completely fine financial position now, because they just sell every player they get. They buy loads of players. If it doesn't work out, they still get profit because they're young. I think there's two things I want to think about. That's Club World Cup, going all the way into July. They're going to be tired towards the end of the season. So if they do get into a title race, they've got the quality to do so. And if they do get into a title race, I think they might drop out towards the end. I think the second thing is a little bit of leadership. You need someone like Thiago Silva, who they lost a few years ago. He wasn't great towards the end of his stint at Chelsea, but still think he brought something so crucial to the dressing room. James, I think, is a great leader. I think he's a great captain. I just think they need one or two more players. I think, honestly, hear me out. I think they should go for Craig Dawson, and I wrote this down actually. I think they should, because they just need a leader in there, and I feel like they need someone who can lift that dressing room. I'm sure the dressing room is fine, but they just need someone who's an older player who's been through like a lot of, I don't know, he's got like strong mental strength if you try and get on and say. I think it's a very young team, and maybe I think it's a bit too young of a team for them to win the title, but they'll definitely put up a fight this year, Chelsea, I'm sure of it. And what else can I say? I think I'm going to have to go on to that star player, and that's obviously Cole Palmer. I haven't talked about him yet, I was going to save it to last. Right foot, left foot, he ain't got a weak foot. He's got incredible finishing, he's got incredible creativity, he dictates the play. I think it's tight though. I think James is definitely a star player as well, because he does a lot of the defensive work. And yeah, that goal, I think it was against Man United, where James turned, put the ball up in the box and Cucurella. I think that's, just sums up Chelsea in that one goal. and it was James putting across in Kukurea heads over. I'm pretty sure it was in Man United. It gives a 2-0. I can't completely remember, but the fullbacks are so influential into how Maresca plays, and I think it was close to me putting James star player, but just because of Palm went a bit silent towards the end, but even when he doesn't score or assist, people just look at his goals assists. Even when he influences the game, even when he doesn't have a goal or assist, and I think he's got that confidence back. Obviously, when you go games without scoring, games without goals, you struggle. Your confidence gets lower. But I still think even when he doesn't score, even when he doesn't assist, he still does his thing, and he's still an influential part. And if you put him next to Xavi Simons, oh my goodness, Chelsea will be incredible. I think just Xavi Simons away from really giving a big push towards that title. The one to watch is Estavio. He's obviously a young, I think 19, 18-year-old who he's actually recently been nominated for like Young Player of the Award. I don't know what the official name for it is, but the Ballon d'Or, like Young Player of the Year award in the Ballon d'Or ceremony. So yeah, good luck to him on that. He's a right winger, actually can play throughout the front three, and he's insanely technical. And that Brazilian league, you look at Wolves, one of the many teams who have gone and signed some top players from that league. That Brazilian league has got some special talents in there. I think Estavio is definitely one. Estavio's tricky footwork, absolutely big. They've got a big Champions League campaign coming up. I talked about their fatigue, so he is going to be important. You'll allow Palmer to rest. You'll allow Neto to rest. You'll allow potentially Simmons to rest, and I think he will be a big part of the games where they need to rest other players. And this is an elite player who could, I think, definitely, he's not even touched Europe's top 5 big leagues yet, and he's already been nominated for a Ballon d'Or award. So yeah, I think Chelsea got a big year ahead of them, and I think they're going to do very well. Well, we've had the Seagulls, but now it's time for the Eagles. Crystal Palace is up next. There you go. You can see the team on your screen right now, and it's been a busy summer for them. Not in the transfer market, which I will talk about, but with obviously the court case over whether they'll get Europa League football or whether they'll get Conference League football. I think, from what I've read, they should get Europa League football. They won the FA Cup. We should get some Europa League, and it's because of this small thing which they absolutely missed out. And I really don't. I think it's so minor that I can't believe they're addressing it. And I think Crystal Palace definitely deserve what they got. And and yeah, but Forest took their spot in Europa League and they got Conference League. But Conference League is better than nothing. Obviously, I understand that how they feel hard done by, but it's better than nothing. And talking about Conference League, I think they are missing some depth. I think this is a very big August for them. There is like 2-3 weeks left of the transfer window, and they need to get some members in. Because if they go into the squad they have right now, they have not got a big enough squad. They'll burn out immediately. Their first team squad is incredible, and I think they'll do real. But that first team squad will pick up injuries, they'll get tired, and they'll concede silly goals as we go on through the season. So they need to get some depth. They need I think one more CB. I think they obviously got Borna Soso is a good signing, so they've got depth for that left wing back position. I think they should get that for that right wing back position. I think the midfield's kind of sorted. They got Jefferson Lerma, obviously a former Bournemouth player, and obviously Kamada in there. So I think they're 3 or 4 more signings, just 3. Obviously got Nketiah up top, but I think they just need another CB. I think another 10 as like a backup for Sarr, and a backup right wing back. But I think the squad, the first team 11 is brilliant, and I think it's obviously got a lot of quality in that midfield, especially Walton, Decore. Decore is the ball winner, and Walton, as you know, the playmaker, tying the strings together, finding Sarr and Eze, and they play really good football. It's a bit of a kick and rush, really. It's very direct. Mateta's a big guy who will hold up the ball and flick it off to Eze and Sarr. If you're going to talk about Eze, linked with a move away to Arsenal, rumours about Tottenham. They got to keep him, man. This is, you say, give us 1 more year. We're in Europe now. Give us 1 year. Let us win this Conference League. I think they should do all they can. I think the release clause has expired now, which is good. So they can demand a high fee, and they should try to keep him because he is so good. With Mateta, getting onto the flicks off Mateta, and he's just a brilliant player. And I think if he goes to Arsenal, they've got a brilliant team, Arsenal, and they could definitely win the league if they get Eze. But sticking on the note for Crystal Palace, They need to start the season faster than they did last season. It was one win in the first 13 last season, and then the second half of the season, it all came together and they pushed up the table into 12th place and obviously won the FA Cup. If they started last season how they um, ended it, they would have, easily got Europe in my opinion. They were brilliant for that second half of the season, brilliant to watch, and it all came together. And I think that's a key point I want to talk about going on to the star player Walton. For the first part of the season, last season, he was non-existent, obviously injured, but the games that he did play, he was quiet. And then that second half of the season, he got back to full fitness. Obviously, he stopped playing with injury. He was brilliant. So I think give him a full season of being fit, and he will get that spot in the World Cup 26 squad. And I think it'll be a big shift. He'll work really well with Decore. Gives him a little bit less pressure off, a little bit of less defensive work, and you can kind of just play make a little bit. But yeah, a wonderful player, still only like 21, and a really brilliant set of skills that he brings to the table. Another one to watch is a left winger from Millwall, and he actually scored his first ever Crystal Palace goal against Millwall, I think, in the FA Cup. And it's Romain Esse, and not Esse, and he is a ready-made replacement for Eze, and I think he's a ready-made replacement for Eze next year. I think he obviously signed in January, didn't appear much, scored a goal in the FA Cup, which is obviously they won, so a big goal, a winner, I think it was, and he is very skilled, he's very technical, and I think he is the replacement for Eze next year. So I think they should keep Eze this year, get Eze into that first team, way more minutes, and then next season he takes that control, he takes that spot from Eze, and they continue like Eze isn't there. So I think get Esse to learn off Eze, but they've got a really talented player, a really talented player, and he's the one to watch. Up next, I'm going to be talking about the team with the best manager in the world. No, it's not Manchester City, it's Everton. David Moyes and Everton are going to do something brilliant this season if they continue how they're doing in the transfer window this season. So, I want to talk about Moyes to start off with. He's a manager with bags of experience. Over the last few years, he's taken West Ham to a Conference League trophy, a European semi-final, and a European quarter-final, while playing brilliant football and playing brilliant counter-attacking football. As for his first 6 months at Everton, he really created like a switch. That Dyche team and the Moyes team, there's such a different way about them, and the things that I heard when Moyes was first hired were crazy. They were absolutely crazy. They were saying like, Moyes isn't much different to Dyche, they're getting worse, they're both dinosaurs. No, football fans do not give enough respect to David Moyes. He is such a brilliant manager. Whether it's 40% possession or 80% possession, just because he's old. I think it is just because he's old. He plays a bit boring, and sometimes there'll be games where when the counter-attacks, when they don't counter-attack well, they won't score. But I just think he plays exactly how the Everton need to play, and I think the way he patched everything up, like the difference between the goals conceded for the first 6 months and the second 6 months were crazy. He's taken from like 18th all the way up to 14th. He really pushed them forward, and if you could do that within 6 months, give him a full season, and he's going to be incredible. If we peer over that team, they've got I think obviously probably the third best goalkeeper in the league behind Raya and Sells and Pickford. Obviously, I think personally I'd say maybe an England legend. He's got a centre back pairing which are just no nonsense centre backs. Will clear the ball, go flying into challenges, and Tarkowski's a big part of that. I think he was up there in the list of appearances last season. Braithwaite's probably a little bit better on the ball than Tarkowski, but still got that thing about him where he's incredible at clearing the ball, incredible at reading crosses and clearing it away. Obviously, O'Brien was one of the first things that Moyes worked on, putting him to right back. He originally started as centre back. It was a signing from Sean Dyche last season from Lyon, I think, and he just didn't work. And then Moyes came in instantly. You saw a change in O'Brien, gave him confidence and pushed him off to that right. Mykolenko, I think obviously they signed Azunu, which is a Bayern Munich 19-year-old left back, which also defeats the theory that Moyes didn't sign young. They signed Azunu, and Mykolenko, I don't think he's cut for it that much. I think he's all right, but I think there's something they could work on. Dewsbury was actually confirmed yesterday. I think that is a big signing, which kind of gave me a bit more confidence to say that they could really charge for Europe this season. I think they need to work on another midfielder, just because, you know, you look at Brighton's team and Everton's team. Brighton are significantly better than Everton. So no matter how good Moyes is as a manager, I still think he can't work incredible miracles. So I think they need to sign another central midfielder. I also think they need to sign another right winger. I'm not sure on Alcaraz. He obviously signed last January on a loan with obligation to buy, and they obviously bought him. I'm sure he'll start, but I think if they get like a right winger like Malik Fofana, who's obviously at Lyon as well, one of the strongest young talents in the world, I'm sure he will go in. Obviously, Tyler Dibling from Southampton was who they're linked with. I don't know if they're still in talks with him, but I think if I really want to be really confident that they will push for Europe, I think they need a new centre mid, a new starting left back. It doesn't have to be young, just someone who could start and, you know, for the next 2 years while Zunu, you know, gets used to the Premier League. New centre mid, new left back, and a new right winger. They're also being linked with Grealish, and if you give Jack Grealish to David Moyes, oh my goodness, you saw what David Moyes did with Jesse Lingard, and it was very, very scary. So they're the incomings. I think they need a little bit more on to, you know, cement themselves as a team which could push into Europe. You've got back Mr. Moyes. Star player, as I've talked about, Pickford, third best goalkeeper in the league, incredible shot stopping, incredible distribution. What does he not have? He is so good, and I love how he sticks to Everton. He loves playing for Everton, and he's so entertaining. I think probably one of my favourite players outside West Ham. And a player who's not in the starting 11 actually is the one to watch. Another one which is not in the starting 11 because it's always often young players. I think a player will get into that starting 11. Obviously, Barry is Thierry Barry. He is the perfect Moyes striker. Moyes recently hasn't. No, I love him, but he ain't got the best track record for strikers. Obviously, at West Ham, we saw Gianluca Scamacca. He didn't do very well, and obviously, Danny Ings was brought in, didn't do very well, and he always had Antonio to stick with him, and he always went with Antonio. But I think they've got a striker who's very similar to how Antonio played at West Ham. You know, a destroyer, a player who will hold up play, and a player who's quick and pacey on the bench, and that's Thierry Barry. I've actually watched a compilation before this, and his movement in the box is so good. His movement in the box is brilliant. His dribbling is brilliant, and he's incredibly special in the air. So I think he's also young. I think he's like 22 as well. So I think Moyes, has got a strike here that he can work with for the near future, and I think that's very, very exciting. I think Everton are a very, very exciting team to look at, and I think there'll be dark horses. I think as it stands, I'll probably say around 8th or 9th, maybe 10th. But if they can get like a right winger, left winger, a midfielder, left back in, one or two of those four, I think they can easily get Conference League football. They've got a manager who's going to make some special stuff happen. Trust me, up the Moyes. Right, let's talk about Fulham. I'm excited to talk about this one, but not for a good reason. I think Fulham could definitely be relegation candidates for this season. They've done a huge lack of business, brought next to nobody in, and it's the exact same team that are going to play this season as last season. It feels every year they don't do enough business. Sure, last season they had a great start to the season. Cool, they did well, but they dropped off. And I think a big fact here, which I got with me, is part of the reason why I think they might. I'm not saying they will go down, but I think they'll be a bit involved. They dropped 28 points from winning positions last season. 28 points, that is so much. I think only Tottenham dropped more from winning positions. So you got to think about that, how many points they dropped. If that continues into this season, and they keep dropping from winning positions, then I don't know. And you look at the quality in that squad. Oh my days, they need number 9. Raul Jimenez, he scored 14 goals last season, top scorer. I know, but he's a striker that can go missing for a while. And their backup is Muniz, who is also quite inconsistent. They need a consistent number 9, a younger one for sure. And I think until they get that, I'll always have them down lower in the table, as it feels like they're not getting worse, but they're not going better, and other teams are getting better. So they're staying like here, and then other teams are just slowly going out, and that means they slowly fall. Emil Smith-Rowe, he was signed last year, and he didn't hit as much as he did. I think he got around 8 goal contributions, which isn't enough. And I don't know I thought he would be really good. I thought he was going to hit like 10, 15 goal contributions, and they didn't. He didn't, and I think he is kind of struggling to live up to that 30, 35 million price tag as of yet. His injuries have got less. He's got good fitness. He looks in great condition. So obviously, I think that's something to look at. Hopefully, he can do better this season. Harry Wilson, obviously, scored a brilliant goal. I can't remember who it was against. It was at Fulham. I'm not sure who it was against. It was like a little flick, and it was a late goal. And he is a very special player. I think he is a very good player. I think that the two centre back. I'm not sure. I'm not overly convinced about Bassi. I think he's a little bit error prone, and the Fulham fans I've talked to aren't too certain on him either. I think obviously Robertson. He's got 10 assists last season. He is a proper left back. He has got bags of pace, and he's a brilliant player. And I think that might be the reason why they might not be involved in the relegation race. But I think you can't field the same team as last season. Football's all about money and spending money in there. And they got a striker which can be very inconsistent, a midfield which is, I think, playing the average apart from Iwobi, who's very good. And I think Iwobi's very good, and I've got him down my star player just because he is, a special player. He creates, and when West Ham were at home to Fulham, he got, I think, 2 assists, and he's got a great cross on him. He's got great shots on him, and he's an all-rounder, and he can play across the attack. He'll fill in wherever he goes, whatever position he plays, he's brilliant, and I really like him. And my eyes kind of open to him when West Ham played Fulham. And yeah, I think he's a special player. But other than that, he is their best player, and is he good enough to drag them up? I'm not sure. I think they could definitely be involved in a relegation race, because I think it's one injury to Iwobi, and I think then it's a big problem. I think my one to watch is actually an 18-year-old, Josh King. It's not the Josh King that played for Bournemouth, the Norwegian one, but it's a young Josh King. He's also one which my idea came from the West Ham game last season. He plays on the left, and he is so technical. When you play West Ham, you could get to the byline and put it across, and he caused us a lot of danger last season. We did win 3-2, but my goodness, was him and Iwobi were linking up, and I think this season, if Smith Rowe, can't get fitness, then I think he could easily take Smith Rowe's place, King. So remember the name, just King, 18 years old, a very, very special player. But I don't know what Fulham are going to do this season, and I think they've got a few good players, Robertson, Iwobi. Other than that, I think every single one of those players is remotely average, and when other teams are doing brilliant recruitment and they're going to the exact same new season with the exact same team, I don't know what to say, man. Right, now Leeds, another newly promoted side, obviously tops the championship last season, getting 100 points. Obviously took it to the last day and actually won the championship in the 91st minute when Manuel Solomon scored quite a good goal, cut in and slotted it into the corner. Manuel Solomon obviously not in that squad anymore, and and it's not the biggest, it's not the best squad. You still got that sort of Ampadu in there, who I don't know if they can make a big impact in the Premier League. Ampadu's already had a few stints, obviously Chelsea, I think he's been at Fulham and Sheffield United, and he never really hit the ground running, so I think they're going to need another midfielder. I think we've seen Strike is a good player. I think Strike can be a big part of keeping him up, but you also got to look at Sambara and Bogle. The quality in there, I don't think it's Premier League quality, and I think these are actually one of the most hyped teams going up, obviously because they scored almost 100 goals, 93 goals last season in the championship and got 100 points. I can understand why people were thinking they can stay up this season, but when you look at that team, there is only a few players which you look at now and you've seen them be successful in the Premier League already, and you have a few other players who you can see still being successful in the Prem. So yeah, I think one of the issues is there's not a lot of quality in the squad, and you go into the new Premier League season, you've got to have the quality to stay up with the players. And I also think the manager quality, there was a lot of talk about Farke being sacked like a day after the celebrations. I read that Farke might be getting sacked. There's definitely something that these boys were thinking about. They stuck with them, but I don't know if that was the right decision. Obviously Farke used to manage Norwich, and he struggled with them twice, went down with them twice, and it never worked out. Farke is a brilliant championship manager, and I've seen that, and we've seen him get 100 points with Leeds, and we've seen him score 93 goals, but can he do it in the Prem? again, it's the same issue with the manager and the players. These players have not worked in the Premier League before. The players not worked, but the players have not been successful in the Premier League before. The manager's not been successful in the Premier League anymore, and I think that's a big issue that might stop them from staying up. But they were very good last season, and you've got to take that into effect. I've gone for the star player. Obviously, Joel Perreault. He scored 19 goals last season, so it was difficult for me not to put him as a star player, but I didn't, just because I think he scored the goals. He was very clinical last season, and I think their second best player last season behind Solomon. Solomon was absolutely brilliant. I was thinking way too good for the Championship, and he hasn't returned to Leeds yet. I think he's still at Tottenham. He might be injured at Tottenham at the moment. I don't think he's part of Thomas Frank's plan, so maybe Leeds can try getting back again. I don't know what's the issue with that, but I think I've gone for Ayo Tanaka, who is a brilliant player. He is 26 years old. He's a defensive midfielder, obviously, in there. And when your defensive midfielder is getting 5 goals and 2 assists, that's when you know you've got a very good player. So it still brings that strong attacking quality, even when he's a defensive midfielder. He's got the top 7% compared to other midfielders for pass completion. So that means he's top 7% for the amount of passes he's completed, which is really impressive with other midfielders. That's from last season, and he's also top 13% for progressive passes. So you've got a player here who not only win you the ball back, but he will also push it forward, and he'll do a bit of the creative work as well. So that is exactly what you want for your defensive midfielder. So I think he'll be the star player. Obviously, absolutely brilliant last season in the Championship. So fair play to him. So if they go stay up, I think Tanaka's got to do a lot of work. Especially when he's sitting next to Ampadu. He's got to do a lot of covering for Ampadu, because Ampadu is quite mistake prone. For the one to watch, I've gone for Lucas Perry, who's signed from Botafogo, Brazilian League. Again, another player who is signed for Brazilian League. Brazilian League last few years been getting absolutely raided. So yeah, he's 27 years old, which is extremely young for a goalkeeper. I've just seen Fabianski go to 39 years old, so 27 years old, still young. He was in the top 12% of other goalkeepers for save percentage. So I think there's a little bit of an issue with his distribution, but I think these fans, after what they saw from Meslier last season, my goodness, the amount of mistakes Meslier made, I think they'll be very happy to see, a goalkeeper of a similar age come in, and Lucas Perry is much more less mistake prone and is much more calm under pressure. Obviously, his distribution can be worked on, but I think these fans will be absolutely delighted to see a new goalkeeper come in after last season's clangers from Meslier. Well, I was just talking about Leeds, and now we're going to one of the most talented teams in the league. So quite the difference between the two teams I've just talked about. So Liverpool up next, and my goodness, just look at that 11 in front of you. I mean, I don't know if that's, obviously you've got Szoboszlai in there, who's now becoming a bit of the weakest link in there, and I think that's crazy. The weakest link in there is Szoboszlai, and you've got to think about, they signed Kirkes, brilliant left wing back for Bournemouth last season. Frimpong, obviously, up and down for Leverkusen all season last season. Obviously, they've also signed another Leverkusen player, Wirtz, who is just a sensational player, still very young as well, and a top playmaker. Offers the unpredictable, a very, very special player. And you look right next to Wirtz, playing up top, who can also play on the left, is Ekitike, who, I don't know, I'm not too confident how well he'll do. I'm not certain that he will do brilliant, but he's still a very young player, and he's got a lot to offer. And yeah, he truly is a really special team. When your weakest link is Szoboszlai, it's incredible. And you got to think, imagine if they add Isak to this. If you add Isak to this, then it's very, very good. So talking about Liverpool, only 14 players got more than 20 starts. So I think that's the one criticism I'll have of Slot last season, is that he should try to use more. Obviously, I think I didn't see enough of Harvey Elliott. I think had his fair share of injuries earlier last season, but I think they could have used him more. Obviously, Chiesa was injured for a bit. I think there's chances to use Chiesa a bit more. So I think I want to see from the start of the season using his squad more. Now he's got a proper big squad, using it because they're gonna be tired, man. They had a big season last season. They won the league. They worked so hard every game. So they're gonna have to use more of their players if they wanna, win the league again and do it 2 years running. And the thing I've got to say, I think they should go all out for the UCL. I think got the league here. Obviously, last year I think it was a bit disgraceful how they got done by the South of the Champions League. They finished first in the table, new table format, and they got through versus the eventual winners. So I think there's obviously an issue with that. The format, I've never liked that new Champions League format. I wish we went back to the normal group stages, but it's there now. So yeah, I think they were a bit hard done by last year, but this year I think they've got to go all out. They've definitely got the depth for it. If they get Isak in, and if you get Isak in, imagine that you have Szoboszlai as a backup, and you can just he'll be fresh as anything coming into these Champions League games. So definitely got the depth for it. Obviously, you're looking at they've got two top right backs in Bradley and Frimpong. Obviously, I think they need a little bit more depth in that centre back. Obviously, selling Quansah, I think the only options are Van Dijk and Konate. So should one of those get injured, I think they should really look at bringing a new centre back in, maybe a younger one. Obviously, Kirkes, Robertson. And should they both get injured, they've still got Simicas. Obviously, Allison, Mama Davili. Can't say his name properly, my bad. And but yeah, I think the Liverpool are just getting bigger and bigger and bigger and better, and it's a really special team. And I haven't even talked about Salah. Last season's top scorer, 30 full goals in all competitions. Wow, what a player! Will he be able to do it this year? Who knows, man? Every year we doubt him. Every year you say he's not going to do it for another year, surely, but he just proves you wrong. So yeah, maybe 40 goals coming for Salah this season. No, I haven't got Salah for my player of the or star player for the upcoming season, just because I think he will drop off. It's only normal. I think he'll maybe get 25 goals instead of 34. I still think he'll be brilliant, but I think they'll play him a little bit more moderation now, obviously with the absolute depth they got. So I think we'll see less of him. So I've actually gone for the star player. I've gone for Konate. I think with Van Dijk obviously getting older, Salah getting older, I think Konate's could be the better out of the partnership. I say Van Dijk was the better out of the partnership last season, but I think this is Konate's season. Konate was very good last season, but I think Konate will be the better Liverpool player this season. Last season he had 2.44 aerials 1 per 90, which is very, very impressive. He's also won 70% of his tackles. 70% of his attempted tackles were won, so that's really good. And yeah, if the stats don't convince you, you just got to watch him, use your eyes, and just see how he moves about and see how he goes flying into challenges. So a brave tackle of the ball, absolute beast in the air, and sitting alongside Van Dijk. I think this will be it, where Van Dijk very slowly receding, and he takes the honour of being the better in the partnership. Now, I might butcher his name, but I think we all know who the one to watch is going to be for Liverpool here. It's going to be Rio Numua, which is, I don't know if I've said that right, but I think I have. He's got 2 assists and 2 goals in pre-season. One against a Korean team, an absolute stun where he picked up in his own half, drove it forward and found the bottom, I think keeper's bottom left corner. And it was just a brilliant strike deep into the corner, no way the keeper could save it. And, as I said, Slot's got to use more of his players. He's got to be braver, pick more of his players. And I think Rio Nomura, with those Champions League games and players being tired, I think you can absolutely see him play a handful of games this season to cover for maybe Wirtz, cover for Szoboszlai, cover for McAllister. I think we'll see him a lot on that left-hand side this season. So I think Liverpool got a big case of winning the league twice in a row, and if they win twice in a row, they could go 3 in a row. If they get Isak, they will be unstoppable, and I think maybe they can do what Man City did and win it 4 or 5 times in a row. The basic view is that Manchester City had a pretty poor 24-25 season, and going into the 25-26 season, the idea is they want to do much better, finishing 3rd in the league last season, and they will be going for the title this year. And if you look at the squad, it is a strong squad. Those 2 centre-backs, the centre-back pairing, Vardy and Ruben Diaz, is very special. A very, very strong CB pairing. Obviously, Vardy played left back last season, but I think with the signing of Aït-Nouri from Wolves, we'll see Vardy will play more of a centre back role, which means he will get less goal contributions, but I'm sure he'll put some solid performances in there. Obviously, I really like Matheus Nunes at right back. He's not physical enough to play in that midfield. Obviously, saw him in the wing, right wing, not physical enough. So they've kind of put him from Man City, utilising his brilliant passing, and he's a big part of playing out the back and, you know, creating from deeper situations. So I really, really like Matheus Nunes. I think he could have a good season in that right back position because he ended it well. The general idea is right that last season Man City weren't very good. I think that's wrong. I think they were really bad. They were terrible. That was for 12 games. That was in autumn where they lost 9 in 12 in all competitions. That was a bad streak. But once that 9 was over, once that 9 in 12 was over, and that run was over, when it hit January, they kind of hit a turn with new signings like Marmoush and, you know, Gonzalez. They got them over the line and he pushed them into the top 4. That second half of the season was really strong. They ended the season well, and with that momentum they had and the squad they've got now, they can have a very good season. But I think in order for them to have a good season, they're gonna have to look after Rodri. He came back against Bournemouth in May and got minutes, and he went to the Club World Cup and he got very small injury again. So they're gonna have to really look after him and really use him at the right time. They can't just put him in for every game. They're gonna have to use him at the right games, and they're gonna have to probably some games gonna have to go without him. They can't just put him on for every game because that ACL injury, that when you have an ACL injury, it sticks to you for a while, and it can cause, you know, follow-ups and even worse injuries if it isn't looked after. So they have to micromanage his minutes, which I think Pep can absolutely do. Other than that, this year they're going to have to return to dominance. You know, as I said, it wasn't their best year last year, and that was because of the 1 or 2 months where they were really poor. But apart from that 1 or 2 months, they were superb, I thought. And I thought they got momentum, so they can do very well this season. I think they will challenge for the title. They will challenge for the title this year. I also wanted to get a fun fact. So they scored 72 goals last season. They scored 10% of those 72 goals were against West Ham. So that's a bit embarrassing for us, you know. They absolutely smacked us both times we're playing them. Every other team were like at the point we played them, we're going into them and giving them a real challenge. We went in there, lost 3-1 the first time. We went in there second time thinking, alright, City are still a little bit unstable, and we got hit 4-1. So 7 goals, and so 10% of their goals came against West Ham. Other than that, I think key player will be Haaland. Obviously, Haaland, for his standards, had a poor season, one of his worst seasons, but he was still brilliant. You know, for his standards, he was poor, but he was still brilliant compared to other strikers. And a stat to back that up is that he was in the top 9% for non-penalty goals compared to other strikers. So top 9% of strikers, top 9% for non-penalty goals compared to other strikers. And he scored 31 goals in the competition. So they're good numbers. And yeah, he is a special player. Obviously, hit with an injury as well. He is a really very good player, and I think he is one of the most underrated players in football, because I just think people just think he's a robot, he's just in the right, he's a bit of tapping much, and he isn't. He bullies strikers, and he's got like some of the best movement I've seen since I started watching football. So I think he's really underappreciated, and I think football fans need to appreciate him more. As for the one to watch, I've gone for Oscar Bob. Oscar Bob, 22 years old, suffered a horrible injury last season. Last season I thought it was going to be easier. So if I was doing this preview last season, I would have gone for the exact same one to watch as Oscar Bob. But obviously he had a really bad knee injury. I think it was in the Community Shield, and that saw him out pretty much towards the end of the season. And yeah, we haven't really seen him since, you know. And I think this year he will. Obviously, they've got a lot of attacking depth in there. Obviously that's the team they're going to line up with the first game of the season. Cherky's not in there. Look at Cherky, he's not in there, so he's got to really fight for his space. But the last full season he had 19 goals and assists, and that was youth. That was in the youth league, so the Premier League 2, the under 21s. But I still think, you know, from the cameos we've seen, give him a full season of fitness, and I think he will really make a mark. Because, you know, I think when he's got brilliant players around him, he'll bring the best out of him on that right wing. He'll be a very special player. So Man City, I think they can easily challenge for the title. I think they've got a brilliant season up and coming ahead of them. I think they've had a brilliant transfer window, bringing Aït-Nouri. I really like the sign of Reinders, and I really think they've got quality and depth now. I think them winning the league will depend on how good Liverpool are, but it will also depend how they treat Rodri, because they've got to treat Rodri and look after his body and make sure he doesn't start every bloody game. Right, Manchester United are up next, and I don't want to talk too much about the season they had last season, because the less said, the better. Right, so they had 11 wins, 7 home, 4 away last season. 11 wins out of 38, and that's for Manchester United. Imagine saying that. And it's been a long time since they've had proper success, a long time since they've lost on the Premier League, and this season has to be the one. Ruben Amorim, a brilliant coach, worked really hard Sporting, and had them play really good football. Yet to see that at Man United. Seen bits and pieces of it, but nothing too much to shove in the face that he can really show it will work at Man United. But you've got to give him more time. You've got to give him a bit more patience, if you get what I mean. Other than that, last year was terrible. As I said, 11 wins, really, really poor. Only 44 goals and 54 goals conceded. And it wasn't great last season. But enough about that. It's a new season, it's a clean slate, and Man United fans are hoping Amorim can take them back to the top, but they haven't been since Ferguson, because they really haven't had an incredible manager since Ferguson. You had some good ones, you've had some bad ones, but they haven't had someone who, is just world class since Ferguson. So they're hoping that Amorim could be the one. If you're looking at a team, obviously Onana missing out due to injury. This is what I've gone with. Maybe not Maguire in there, maybe. Lisandro Martinez missing out on injury for that first week. It's not incredible. Mount is good. Ugarte is good. Dalot is good. Ahmad's very good. Bruno Fernandes very good. I'll get onto him. Cunha very good, and Buemi very good. So there's still Euro's good. Has the potential to be one of the best centre backs in the world in my opinion. Delit's good. Maguire's good. Bayender's not very good. So there's still players which are good in there, and there's Mixed very good. I think there's not a single bad player in there this season. I think there's quite a few bad players in there last season. But I think I like the signs of Cunha and Buemi, and obviously there is no Benjamin Sesko in there. Benjamin Sesko, I want to talk about him for a minute. Brilliant signing. He was in the top 11% for take-ons. He's incredible in the air. He got 13 goals, 5 assists last season. I mean, he is a really special player. 13 goals, 5 assists, and he's still very young. I think there's one issue, and that's his link-up play, and that can definitely improve. But as I said, still young, and I think it's a brilliant signing. A lot of hate going on to that signing, but it's a lot of money. But he's still a little bit raw, but his technical ability is second to none. So, that's a great signing. But I don't think he'll start immediately. Maybe he will, but I've decided, to put Buemo up top, and I think Sesko will get into that for the second or third game week and be starting. Other than that, they're getting good quality and depth. The attack, Bruno Fernandes, Cunha, and Buemi, Sesko. That's your attacking options. That's really good. Obviously, Mount can play at 10 as well. So that attacking options are set, and I'm sure Amra's just slowly building it, slowly want to change it, because it's a lot of work to be done. 10 years of work to be done to return to that Ferguson level if they can. So slowly working on, maybe they'll try getting a midfielder and slowly turn a midfielder, and then they'll go to defence. So they're obviously clearly working on the attack one stage at a time. Obviously, trying to get a better season than last season. Other than that, not much to say. I think they could have gone out for Gyökeres, but I had that down on my notes. But I think Sesko is probably the right player for them. So I think they need a young player. Obviously, Amorim's got a project, so Amorim wants to be here. As he said in his interview, Amorim said he wants to be at Manchester United for 20 years. So Gyökeres maybe wasn't the right signing. So, but I think that could have been an option. He was obviously really good at Sporting. Gyökeres on Amorim. But other than that, I think it's a good team. The signings will be quality, and I think I can really see it improving. Will they get into top 4 this season? I doubt it. That squad isn't top 4 level, and I haven't seen enough of the managers. Yes, he is top 4. The squad and the manager is top 4 level as a whole. I think they can easily get some sort of Europe, maybe Conference League, and that's how Chelsea did. Chelsea had a terrible year a few seasons ago. Then they got to Conference League, and then they got to Champions League. So I think Man United might follow in the steps. I think they'll finish around 6th, 7th as a guess. Right, for the star player, I think this season I'll go for a different. No, I'm not going to be edgy. I'm going to be very, very simple with you. It'll be Bruno Fernandes. Last season, he was the top 1% for progressive passes, and I think you can say that out loud. You can hear it in your head. Top 1 progressive passes. You can just watch it. But I don't think I've ever seen Bruno Fernandes pass it any other way than forward. He always is looking to start an attack, and he is really a special player. He's a great captain because he knows exactly what he's doing. A top attacking midfielder. He's in the top 4% of midfielders for tackles. Now that includes I think that includes defensive midfielders. So obviously shows that I think last season he played more of an 8 than a 10. So obviously he was a little bit further back, a little bit more deep. But it shows how brilliant he is defensively as well, and he is top 4% for shot creating actions. So he created chances pretty much. He created very good chances which led to a shot being taken. And he's also in the top 2% for passes completed. So overall, a brilliant captain, an incredible midfielder, and he will yet again, I'm going to be boring, he will yet again be their best player. And I think as long as Bruno Fernandes is delivering, they won't get relegated. So there we are. The one to watch back on to Mainu. Mainu was nowhere last season. I don't know where he was. He struggled. He had his injuries, but I think the season before was his breakout. And I thought after that breakout season, I thought last season was going to be his year. He's going to be absolutely everywhere. But obviously injuries, poor fitness, and that's got to him. But I think this year, I think it's similar for Oscar Bob. Oscar Bob and Mainu's year should have been last year, but it will be this year. It happens a year later than expected. But Mainu was still top central midfielder, and he might not be starting for the first week, but he'll get there. I reckon by the end of the season he'll be one of their best players. So I think you got trust in Mainu, and this is going to be his year. Incredible midfielder, incredible ball winner, and yeah, Mainu got a stronger squad than they did last season. I don't think they'll finish 15th again this season, and I'm sure the fans will be hoping not. Right, the Magpies, they've been the laughing stock over the transfer window. Obviously, they've been rejected by so many players, including Trafford, who decided to go to Man City over him. Gehi made it quite clear he didn't really want to go to Newcastle. Liam Delap decided Chelsea instead. They also got done by Chelsea again by Joel Pedro, who also wanted to move to Chelsea over Newcastle. They were put more money in than Manchester United for Sesko, but Sesko only wanted Manchester United. And Mbeumo, again, Man United got him over Newcastle did. Newcastle were big fans. Eddie Howe was a big fan of Mbeumo. He didn't want to go to Newcastle. Ekitike went to Liverpool over Newcastle, and obviously they might be losing Isak. It is not a strong transfer window, but if you look at the team ahead of you, it's still a very good team, and this is a team which has just won a Carabao Cup and had a brilliant year. I think Eddie Howe should be trusted. He's a brilliant manager. He's got Newcastle, obviously with a bit of help with the Saudi money. He's got Newcastle up from a team which was 16th every year, and now they've got Champions League football, and they finished 5th last season, which gets you to Champions League football, and 5th is a very, very respectable finish. And they only lost 12 games, and they won 20 games, so a very good track record last season. They're very good, put a very good team out. This is the first team I think they'll play with for the first game of the season. Obviously, weaknesses in there is that they don't really have a number 9. Weaknesses in there obviously is that right wing. Obviously, I think Alanga will find his way into that team very, very soon. I think they'll start with Murphy. Murphy though got 12 assists last season, so fair play to the guy. I don't think Murphy should be overlooked. I think he can definitely hold his own in the Champions League. So it's a quality team, and the one position I really want to look at is that midfield. They have got one of the best midfields in the league, an insanely physical midfield. Joe Linton just goes crashing into everyone. Obviously went to Max Dowman the other day. I'm not sure that's right ethically, considering it was a pre-season friendly, but he will, he's always pushing, fighting. So yeah, he's an aggressive player. I think he's a massive part of Eddie Howe's team. I think Eddie Howe needs that player. Who will just get in your way, be a bit of a nuisance, and by him being a nuisance, it allows the technical ability of Bruno Guimaraes and Sandro Tonali to really come out, and I think that's a midfield which can properly return for yet another year, and it always does return because they are really good on the ball, and when they've got the ball they use it really effectively. So yeah, I think the defence is brilliant. Obviously Sven Botman was injured throughout last season. I think he's injured at the moment. They're still trying to get him back to full fitness, so with Botman's absence last season, Byrne came in and he scored the winner. Scored a winning goal in the Carabao Cup final versus Liverpool, and he's a giant. He's brilliant in the air, and he's experienced and he's brilliant. And I think Botman's got to really earn his place back because Byrne is not going to give up easy. So yeah, I think they are the laughing stock of the transfer window. It's been really poor, and they have put bids in for like 100 players, and they've all been rejected, which surprised me because they're playing under a good manager. I think Newcastle are a very attractive club at the moment, so it surprises me that no one really wants to go there. But I still think going into that first game week, obviously with that team, it's a strong team, and that is, I think, that team at the moment is probably still like top 7 8 squads in the league. You got to think about Langeris in there. You got to think about the depth that they have, and the returning Botman. So it is still a good squad. And if there's top 8 teams in the league at the moment, and that's probably at its worst, and they could still add, and they still got, I think, plenty of money to spend in the transfer window. Then I think by the end of the window, you can easily have a top 5 squad. I think they got to bring in another central midfielder, and they got to bring in another centre back who's reliable, who can play every game and isn't injury prone like Botman. And yeah, so striker, centre mid, centre back, and I think they've got a top 5 squad. So I think as much as it's been bad this summer, I think there's still lots to look after, lots to look forward to with Newcastle, and I think they can definitely have a very good season. As for the star player, I've gone for Lewis Hall. I think he has just the most incredible long range passing. He is a really, really special player, and he creates so much of Newcastle's chances. He's actually in the top 11% of fullbacks for the final third passes. He's very strong defensively, and this just shows that he's in top 1% of fullbacks for shots blocked. So yeah, he's very good going forward. He's a massive part of Newcastle's creativity, and he can also put in a great shift defensively, and he's still like 22, 23, so really young, and they've got a top fullback, and I think he was one of the best in the league last season. So they got on the other side Livramento as well, who's just as special as him. I think Livramento could have easily been their star player, or my predicted star player for this season, but I think Lewis will it's just that tiny bit better, but still a really incredible team, and I think Newcastle have got a lot to look forward to. Nottingham Forest last season were relegation candidates, and I think everyone thought that, but they managed to find their way in 7th place. So they'll be hoping for another good season this season, and hoping to get pushing for Champions League. Obviously, they were in Champions League spaces for a vast majority of last season. However, players got tired, mistakes became more common, and that saw them fall down to 7th place because of Crystal Palace breaking the laws. They will get pushed into Europa League, and yeah, we'll be playing Europa League football next season. So what they would have learned from last season is to use more of the players. Nuno was very strict on using only a few of the players. He didn't use his depth enough. I said this about Liverpool, and I think it's the same for Nottingham Forest. For Nuno had a group of players he trusts. He's kind of stick for. He's got to be getting more players in and using those players, because you can't have it crumble every time it gets to April. But throughout last season, the performances were brilliant, and I think it's harsh for them to be in 7th, because every time I did watch them, they put a brilliant performance in, and a lot of that came down to the centre back pairing, Murillo and Milenkovic, who were I think 2 or 3 of their best players last season. Incredible in the air, and were really strong because they had to Forest play a very defensive system and play on the counter attack. So there's points where there would be 10-15 minutes of constant defending, and they needed to stay focused, but they always did stay focused. So big credits to them, and they'll be a big part of this season. Obviously, on Aina, brilliant player, very two-footed, and just got incredible crossing and incredible striking ability. Obviously got a worldie versus West Ham, almost scored another one as well. So a really attacking, creative fullback, and one of his own in his own way. Forest, obviously, Gibbs White had that Gibbs White situation. He's now signed a contract to Forest. I don't know how it was done. I won't say anything because I value my life. So I'm not going to say anything. Obviously, it's all down to Gibbs White wanting to play for Forest. Not dodgy whatsoever. Not at all dodgy whatsoever. I'm sure. Just watching the interview, I can tell how excited Gibbs White was to be a Forest player. But no, jokes aside, it's incredible how he's there for another season. I can't believe it, and yeah, but he signed the contract signed. I don't think the Forest fans will care. Forest fans have a brilliant summer, taking Crystal Palace's spot in Europa League. Now they've got Gibbs White on a contract just as he's about to leave, So that is crucial. That is crucial. Obviously, Gibbs White is kind of irreplaceable. I'll get into him in a minute, into a bit more detail in a minute. I really like the double deal. They did a double deal. It was Igor Jesus and Jaya Cunha, and they both came from Botafogo, and it was a cheap deal. It was two players in for 30 mil, and it was two players from one team, and they got them in, and it means they got centre back cover and striker cover in one or two signings, and one quick deal, and they got two players in, and it means it sorts out depth quickly, and I really like that. And Jesus is 23, 24, so Wood can obviously mentor him and teach him. He scored 5 goals last season. Igor Jesus, so. Not that I've seen him, but again, another deal in the Brazilian League, which, as I've said multiple times, is quite common now. I think a little bit more depth, maybe another midfielder, but I don't think too much depth, but not much more is needed. But I think certainly a few more midfielders, and yeah, but they are moving quite well in transfer window. I thought they've been quite successful in the summer transfer window. What else? So the star player I've gone for is... Oh no, before I got into the star player, I will talk about actually how good Forest were last season one more time, because I just love how they play. I really like Nuno Espirito Santos, system with quick wingers who just drive the ball forward. It's none of your tiki-taka bollocks. It's direct football. It's like what I saw West Ham do a few years back, and I really like. I'm a big counter-attacking football fan. Obviously, just get to the wingers. Hudson-Odoi will take you on. Bannon I'll talking about. He'll certainly take you on, and Gibbs White just spraying balls out to the wide players, and they do the work, and they'll drive it forward, and Gibbs White will spray it out to them, push it forward, and Gibbs White will be on the edge of the box, waiting for the cutbacks, and it's really direct, really quick, and they're up this end. 5 seconds later on the other end. It's really cuts out the bollocks. That's really good. I have a lot of praise for Nuno for that. Now the star player. I'll get on the star player now. I think I've gone for Gibbs White, and I think he is so special. He's so good in transition. I've just talked about him. How he'll just set off the wingers and he'll be there to finish it off. When the wingers beat their man, put it across goal, he's always there. So he starts off the attack and often finishes it. 8 goals, 7 assists last season, incredible. And he's 25 years old. He's got so much more in the future, and the fact that they've kept him, unreal. He's also got very strong defensive work rate. I saw that he was in like the top 10% of midfielders for interceptions. So yeah, he'll be up. He'll be all around the pitch. I'd love to see his map, because he literally is everywhere. He's finishing off chances, he's creating chances, he's doing defensive work. He is so vital to that system, and the fact that they've kept him will changes them from finishing like 14th to 5th. I really think he is that vital of a player in my opinion. He's kind of like irreplaceable. So the one to watch, I come for Enjoy. He's 24 years old. He is very good, a very good ball carrier. But it's basically like Hudson-Odoi on the other wing. He will take you on. He'll drive it forward. He's in like top 10% for carrying the ball into the penalty area. Really hard to tackle, really hard to challenge, and he's a difficult player to play against. And again, young. I really like that signing, and it really fits. And he'll go straight. That's why I put him straight into 11 for game week 1. He'll go straight in there, and he'll make a statement from the first game week. And he has actually been compared to Ashley Gordon. They've got very similar player styles. So for Forest, I think it'll be another great season. I don't see them dropping off. I think 1 or 2 more signings, and they can definitely challenge for Europe once again. But yeah, positive summer, a really positive summer. And I haven't even talked about Elliot Anderson as well, who's just a top player. So, I could sit here talking about Forest for a while. I really enjoyed watching them last season. So good season ahead. The last newly promoted side is Sunderland. They finished 4th last season in Championship, but won the playoff final in incredible style with a late goal after it's 2-1. And yeah, they were very good last season. But despite the mood being high after that playoff win and the fans celebrating, it didn't last long, because Joe Bellingham, their star player for last season, arguably the best player and one of the best players in the Championship, went to Borussia Dortmund. That's a big move. £30 million, and he was the heart and soul of the midfield last season. So when you lose your best player like that, arguably the best player in the Championship, it hurts, and you think, well, is this how the transfer is going to be? Is this foreshadowing something which shows that the transfer window won't be good? But that's been completely wrong. They've gone for a Nottingham Forest approach of signing loads of players. I think 10 or 11 signings they're at now, and despite losing Joe Bellingham, obviously you look really good in that midfield next to Lafay, next to Xhaka. But Neil, he could put a shift in, and I still think that midfield is quality even after they lost their best player. That's what stands out, not the defence, not the attack. The midfield is what's gonna, if they are gonna stay up, it's gonna be a big part of that. The midfield, yeah, it really complements each other with Lafay, Xhaka, and Neil all working well together. But it's a young team, and it's a young team with not a lot of experience. Take away Adingra, take away Xhaka, that team has 9 out of 11 of that team has never played in the Premier League before. And that could be good because you've got young, fresh faces, but also you're going to want that experience, which Burnley have and Leeds have. Obviously, Leeds have Bogle, Dan James, Sean Longstaff, who's brought in. They've brought in players who have played in the Premier League for a few seasons. Jack has brought that experience, but I think they need 1 or 2 more players who know what the Premier League is all about. Other than that, I really like their manager, Lebris. He works really well with the young players. The young players want to play for him, and he works. He's brought these top talents in, the top young talents in, because these players want to go to him and want to learn off him. Obviously, a big part of Lafay signing for Sunderland was Lebris. You know, you see these players develop under Lebris, and they get and they really enjoy playing under him. So he's level-headed, he's calm, and some players have a lot of trust in him, and rightly so. And he plays a very good system. Other than that, I think Sunderland kind of have a good season this season. I think the lack of experience can come to cost them, but they got some severe talents in there, and that can't be forgotten. As for my star player, it was tight. I wanted to go for Adingra, but just because I wanted to go for Xhaka as well, and it was between Adingra and Xhaka. The last minute I switched to Lafay, just because I don't know how well Xhaka will play in the Sunderland system. Just because he's probably going to do well, but I haven't seen him in that Sunderland system. It's risky going for him as star player. Adingra, I think probably the best player in the whole squad at the moment, but I just don't know how he'll slot in that Sunderland team. So I've gone for someone who we know will be brilliant in the Sunderland team, because he has been brilliant for that Sunderland team, and that's Enzo Lafay. How they brought this guy in when they were in the Championship is incredible. He was a top talent 2 years ago, getting linked to the big names like Real Madrid. He absolutely bossed the Championship. He was out of his depth. He was out of his depth there. You know, he was Premier League level, and he was just week in, week out, effortlessly just bossing around the Championship teams. He's known for his top passing. That's what he's all about. He's got an incredible set piece on him, and that is going to be something which is really big. When obviously Ballard scored that late winner in the semi-final of the Championship playoff from a corner, it's going to be a big threat this season, Sunderland, from corners. Ballard, a big guy. They're going to try pin on his head, and when you've got Lafay, who's got that great in-swinging cross, then it's really special. So he's also very good defensively. You know, he's got very good interception skills, and he's just generally an all-rounder midfield, offering control, defense, and attack. Whatever you need him to do, he will do, and that's exactly what you want for your midfielder. He'll play defensive mid, he'll play central midfield, and he'll play attacking midfield. Wherever you need him, in that midfield, will slot in. The one to watch, it was a difficult one. It was Chris Rigg. He's an 18-year-old midfielder. I've gone for him. He's young. I've gone for him because of his age. He is injured at the moment. I think he'll get more minutes in October-ish when he gets back from that injury that he's got. He has lacked goals and assists last season, but I think that'll come. He's young. That'll come with his game. Something he's very good at compared to other attacking midfielders is defensive stats, because compared to other attacking midfielders, he's top 5% for shots blocked. So he will put a shift in, like a lot of that Sunderland players, and I think having him as like depth for Xhaka, he's not especially young. Xhaka, he's not going to be able to do 90 minutes week in, week out. So having that depth for Chris Rigg, who could come in and offer that defensive reliability is really, really important. So I think Chris Rigg is definitely one to watch when he comes back from his injury. But Sunderland, on the whole, young team, like a bit of experience, but they'll be very exciting. And I'm so glad it was Sunderland that come up and not Sheffield United, because I tell you what, Sheffield United come up, they just sign, your Ampadu and your boring players. Sunderland are giving this a real go, sign loads of players, and they could be really interesting to watch. They might finish last, but at least they're going to be interesting, in my opinion. I don't really like this team. I don't think anyone does. And it's Tottenham next. So, last season, in the Premier League, it was a disaster. I was thinking they're going to regret sacking Ange. I think I was saying that, but I've just read up on their stats. They conceded 65 goals last season. Now, that is a lot. And that is all down to Ange, because I know the quality of Van de Ven, I know the quality of Romero, and I'll get on to that. I look at that defence with Spence and Udogie, and I look at Porro, and it's such a brilliant defence. How we've managed to get that defence concede 65 goals is, I can't believe it. I really can't, because, right, I know his centre-backs were practically on the bloody halfway line, and his system was just, centre-backs so far forward up the pitch. But, my goodness, 65 goals conceded with that defence. I can't believe it. But they got the Europa League trophy in the end, so fair play to them. So, whether the last season was a disaster, the Premier League was a disaster, but the season as a whole, I don't know, trophy's a trophy, and they got Champions League football. So, I'll leave that for you to think about. Thomas Frank is in now, though, and he's all about moving the ball quickly. Entertaining football, very good with Brentford, very, very good with Brentford. Scored a lot of goals and had Mbeumo Wissa playing incredible, especially at home. They were really, really good at home. A little bit poor away, maybe that's just a coincidence, but they were really good at home. And the football they played, but the way they moved it quickly, it was really impressive. If you look at that team, it's strong. Obviously, I think there's a few problems with that midfield. Bergvall's still young. I want to see more of him. Really, he was good last season. He scored in the Carabao Cup semi-final, I think, against Liverpool, and then the second day they got battered. But never mind, he was good in that game, really good in that game. I've put Pape Matar in just because I think Basuma might leave. There's been rumours about his future, and Bentancur also rumours about his future. But there's not much options in that midfield. The attack is quality. I put Kudus on the left. I hope he doesn't play there, but I think I can maybe see him playing there for the time being. Obviously, there's Tell in there, there's Odobert in there, but I just think, I don't know if they'll drop Johnson just because he scored in Europa League final, but I think it was either I was going to put this, but maybe Johnson does get dropped, you put Kudus to the right, and then you put Tell in, but yeah, it's a talented team. Maybe Paulinho goes in there. This team was made before Paulinho signed, so maybe now I'll put Paulinho. Obviously, loan with an option to buy, maybe he'll go in instead of Bentancur. I'm sure about Bergvall will start, but yeah, maybe Porro will start for Spence. But the general idea is that Udogie, Van de Ven, Romero will start, Vicario will start, I reckon Sarr will start, I reckon Bergvall will start, I reckon Kudus will start, maybe not Brennan Johnson, I reckon Slag will start. And obviously new signings come in, Kudus, but this is the team that, Ange had. I'm looking at this, I'm like, how the hell did he finish 17th? 17th, right? Yeah, 17th with this team. Anyway. It's a new manager, it's exciting football, so there's things to look forward to for Tottenham, and it can't get any worse. I mean, they can get relegated, but I don't think they will, and they won't. Kudus and Paulinho, great signings. I think Paulinho's been hated regardless by Tottenham fans, and I'm not going to say I know more about Tottenham fans about their club. Obviously, they know what they need. I don't know much into it, but I think from an outside perspective, Paulinho's a very good signing. He's not going to be interesting. He's not going to score 8 goals. He's not going to score 10 goals. He's not going to score loads of goals. But he will, keep the structure well, and he will do the dirty work, which is, I know he's not entertaining. I know he's not a 20-year-old, but you can't just have a team of 20-year-olds, flashy players. You need your Paulinho in there, and I think it's a really, really good side. I would love Paulinho at West Ham, personally. Other than that, they got to replace Maddison. That is a big, big issue. Losing Maddison to an ACL this season. I'm not a massive fan of Maddison. I don't think he's incredible, but he's a good player, and he'll be a big miss. And you add Maddison to that team, and it's a really good team. So obviously they've been linked with Manchester City Savinho, who got 13 goals and assists last season, and that is a great signing. He's 21, 13 goals and assists in I think his first Premier League season. That's really, really good. So maybe Savinho comes in and Kudus moves to the centre. I don't know, but And I've seen Kudus as a 10 at West Ham, and it wasn't good. It wasn't good. It was horrible, actually. It was really bad as a 10. I think Kudus, you play him on the right, or you don't play him. I think that's it for me. But yeah, I think they linked with Savinho. I think they just got to get 10 in. I don't think they'll get Eze. I think a lot of the top attacking midfielders have gone. Obviously, El Canous plays for Leicester. He's one to. He scored 2 goals. No, he got a goal. No, he got 2 assists yesterday or the day before in the first Champions. Well, it won't be when you're seeing this, but the first Championship game of the season for Leicester, he got 2 assists, I think. So yeah, he's really good player, El Canous, and yeah, I think they just got to address that attacking midfield option. And will it be a Champions League disaster? I'm not sure. How well will they do in Champions League? Because honestly, it's a good team. There's not loads of depth. There's a little bit of holes, and there is a lack of world-class players in there. But you know, I think this year's Frank's first year, so even if they go straight out, I don't think the fans will be too unhappy with that. Obviously, they want to do well, and they're not going to be celebrating that they go out. But at the same time, Frank's first year, if they get some exciting football on the table, maybe get some round 16 in the Champions League, then I think that'll put some smiles on the faces of the fans. But yeah, it'll be interesting to see how they do. And Frank's got a team who conceded 65 goals last season. What can he do with that squad? I'm not sure. As for the star player, I've gone for Romero. I think he is the best player in that squad. Van der Ven, quick, pacey centre back, but I think Romero does a brunt of the work. He's a top tackler. He's incredible in the air, and he works very well with Van der Ven, as I just said. I think he will take on a player and he'll just tackle them. He makes it all look so easy, right? And when the ball's in the dangerous position, he'll just take it off you without even realizing. Now he's not like he's a hard hitter. He goes for into challenges, but when he's getting taken on, he'll just take it off you with ease. Yeah, he's a really good player, Romero, and I think he will be a strong part of a strong defensive season. I actually did see someone say that Tottenham will have a very good defensive record this season. I think they will. I think Ange's system last season was the reason they conceded 65 goals. As I said, I don't think it's fair. So I think that defence is, and Frank will get that defence playing well. And I think they might even, I think they might hit a good defensive record. Another reason why I think they'll do hit a good defensive record is because of the depth. Kevin Danzo and Vuskovic, I don't know if I said that name right, but this guy is an 18-year-old defender, and with Chagusin being injured, and Champions League, this guy will get minutes. And I looked at his stats last season, right? He got two assists, 7 goals. He got 2 assists, 7 goals. He's a centre back. He's 18 years old, and he's got 2 goals, 7 assists last season. I think it was in the Croatian League. I'm not sure on that. I'm guessing it was the Croatian League, but yeah, he also had a 75% passing accuracy per 90, which is really good. He scores goals. He throws himself into challenges and blocks shots, and he's got some of the best passing. Obviously, maybe it's a low league, and maybe it's because of the quality of the players, but they've got a player here who's 18 years old and a centre back who scored 7 goals. So I think there's a lot to be excited for. He's one to watch. He'll get the minutes, I reckon. He's got the minutes in pre-season, and he'll get the minutes this season. I don't know who he is, but I know he got 9 goal contributions as a centre back last season, and none of them were penalties, I don't think. So wow, I don't know who this guy is, but he's gonna rock the Premier League this season. Well, I'm finally talking about a team which I actually know about. West Ham United, the Hammers are up next, and I was talking about Tottenham having a disaster of a season, but ours wasn't much better. They conceded, I think, 65 goals, I said, and we conceded 62, so we're just slightly better still. But no, they took a European trophy, and we didn't. So no, yeah, honestly, at the moment, I'm very jealous of Tottenham. They got a European trophy, and they've got a top manager who plays incredible football. And we are stuck with Graham Potter, which is great. Potter plays a 5-3-2 formation, which he's very known about keeping the ball and building up attacks slowly. We were ever so slightly better in the second half of the season with Potter than we were in the first half of the season with Lopetegui. minorly better though, not much better. We just sorted the defence out, went to a 5, and we still lost games, but we didn't concede 4 every week. So there was a minor improvement. We haven't seen enough for him though. We haven't. I think there's nothing there to say to me that Potter will be the man who can push us anywhere near top half, let alone Europe, let alone winning a European trophy, getting to a semi-final, and getting to a quarter-final, like David Moyes did. So we're never hitting that David Moyes level. I've completely understood that now, and I know, and we will never hit the level that David Moyes had West Ham at. But I don't think Potter could even do half what he did in terms of even getting us into the position of maybe 10th or 9th. I'm not hopeful for this season. We start off with a tough game, Sunderland away, and this is a team, Potts, unexperienced, Ward-Prowse, good, nothing better than good. Paquetá, he's struggled over the last few seasons. Obviously, he had that court case. He's completely fine now. Charges dropped against him, and the defence not incredible. So I'm not hopeful for this season. Last season we did not score enough, and that's got to be something which is addressed this season. And I think there's a reason why. We've only got 2 bloody attackers on the pitch, but yeah, we didn't create enough and we didn't score enough, and our main striker, was injured for the vast majority of the season. I'm not sure for our club. When he plays, he's good, but if he's not available, what's the fucking point, honestly? Another reason why I am completely at the moment not sure on Potter is because he let go of the whole group of leaders. Antonio's gone, Cresswell's gone, Fabianski's gone, Kufa gone. Those 4 were a significant part of our success under Moyes, and he's just completely thrown him away with no respect. He didn't give Antonio. Antonio was fit and available for the last game of the season. He wanted to say goodbye to the fans, but Potter didn't let him. Potter barely played Fabianski in the last few weeks. We had nothing to play for. The highest we've got, obviously, we finished. Well, where did we finish? 14th. That's as high as we could finish. We couldn't go down. We were mathematically safe, but he was focused on getting points in rather than saying bye bye to legends, and I really don't like that. I don't like how he's treating those players that we have. And the one thing I will say is the players look happy. I've seen videos. Well, we haven't watched most pre-season, but I've seen videos on the Instagram where the players are smiling. Whether that's down to him, or that's down to somebody else, I don't know. But the players are happy. The players look happy. So I think that I've got to address that. That's good. He's got the dressing room going. The players look happy. That's a positive, I'll say. I said a lot of negatives, and that is a positive. I'll give him that. Whether that's down to him, I'm not sure. But the players look happy for once in a while. They actually look like they want to be playing for West Ham, which is good. Now, I think this is a controversial opinion, and Potter disagrees with this because this guy has not played in pre-season at all. Souček, he's disappeared, man. Barely played in pre-season, and he's played about 30 minutes in our maybe 20-30 minutes he gets every now and then in the pre-season games. And he came on the other day against Lille and got an assist. This guy is deadly, and for God's sake, if Potter sells Souček, I will quite frankly lose my mind. He was our second top scorer last season. How many goals did he get? 9 goals. It was one of his best, and this is the best attacking returns. And this is a team which had Lopetegui and Potter. We scored 46 goals last season, and Souček contributed to scored 9 of them. If we let go of him, a player who every time he plays will get a goal or assist, maybe he's not nice in the eyes. Maybe he doesn't run around. He doesn't do your fancy tricks. He doesn't do your boners, but my goodness, if we let go of him, I'll lose my mind. I think we need to build the midfield around him. I think get Potts out, obviously, get him involved in the team. He's a young player, I like Potts, but just get him minutes, Potts. Get him in and around the squad. We've got around 42 games we play with the League Cup. Get Potts out and build the team around Souček. We've got a player here who can give you 10 goals and assists each season. Why are we just sticking him with a bench and pretending he doesn't exist now? I'm not happy with that. I think Souček should be starting. I think we should get a young, talented players around him. And I think in order for me to happy with Potter, I want to see Souček in the team next season. And yeah. other than that, I'm not hopeful. I don't think we'll do very well, and I don't think we'll score many goals. I think this season we'll probably finish 14th again, and it'll be pretty boring. I can't lie, skip me to the end of the season where Pat Potter ends up getting sacked. The fans will be unhappy, and just please, for the love of God, give me David Moyes back. I miss him. Okay. Alright, that's done. It's off my head now. As for the star player, I've gone for Jared Bowen, and this is what I need to be talking about. This is exactly what I need to talk about. So I'll cheer up. I'll get a smile back on my face when I talk about Bowen. We brought him from Hull in 2019, no, 2020, yeah, 2020. So he's been here for around 5 years, half a decade. He's obviously signed a long contract last year, I think it was, and maybe a year and a half ago, and around then he's got a long contract. I couldn't believe that. I thought I was seeing things. This guy is so talented. He got around 30% of our goals, and only Salah had a higher share of his team's goals. So Salah, I think, had around 40%-ish, or just over 30% of Liverpool's goals. So only Salah contributed to more of Liverpool's goals than Bowen did for West Ham. He's worked really well on that right foot. Before, when he came, he was really deadly when he cut in, but defenders kind of knew he was gonna cut in. But now he's got that option of going to the right, which puts the defenders in two minds. And he got 18 goals and assists, and he's got some of the best ball carrying in the game. This guy is unreal. If he leaves, he'll drop back, right? He'll drop back, he'll pick the ball up, drive it forwards, and do incredible things with it. If he leaves, we straight up get relegated. I think we finish dead last. The whole system revolves around him. Should there be a secret release clause, hypothetically, we'd be absolutely doomed. And he's top 4% of wingers, or forwards actually, for passes and crosses into the penalty area. Which is, I think, just incredible. I think we've got a super talent on our hands. And if he does ever leave, it'll be a very sad day. My one to watch is Juve. He signed from Slavia Prague, obviously Czech Republic. We've seen one of our best ever players, Thomas Souček, signed for Slavia Prague, so that's one reason why it's one to watch. They are a very good feeder club, is that what they call it? He's top 1% of crosses into the penalty area. Basically, he's got an incredible left foot. He'll just slam it into the box. I watched one pre-season game because it was at 7 o'clock. The other pre-season games were at midnight, but I watched one pre-season game and he was incredible in it, and he got an assist. And he also got like a pre-assist where he put it in the box and it bounced around and fell to Fulkrug. And something I really like about him is he very rarely makes errors. I haven't talked about this guy yet. I've completely ignored that he's there. Areola, a player who made several errors last season, so it's good to have a left wing back. It's good to have a player which I know won't make mistakes. So we've got bloody Areola, bloody Todibo, who will just slip on the board, stick it into his own net. I'm glad I got a player in there alongside Bowen, who will just be consistent enough to not do anything stupid. We need players who don't do stupid things, and Juve is one of them. We won't get relegated, I don't think. Relegated is a bit too far. We won't finish higher than 15th or 14th. We'll see Potter leave at the end of the season. I'm not optimistic. I was going to come into this and try and put this fake optimistic facade on, but honestly, we've got an incredible player in Bowen. We've got an exciting player in Juve. Other than that, and Wan-Bissaka, it's not hopeful because Souček's just getting left on the bench to rot. Yeah, not good. We're almost to the end of the video, but we will talk about Wolves, which is the final team, and yeah, quite a few things to say about them. So Pereira came in after Gary O'Neill failed last season. He came in around December, around that Christmas period, and he finished off the season getting 33 out of 42 of Wolves' points. Considering he only played 2 or 3 more Premier League games than O'Neill, that is just an incredible statistic for me. And he blew it away. He took out the players who were causing problems. So obviously Lamina caused problems, and there was multiple fights. He got rid of Lamina. He said, "Listen, let's turn this around," and got the dressing room happy, because the dressing room under Neil, it was very happy very unhappy after every single game Wolves played. There was a fight. It was poor. It was poor. Vitor Pereira cleaned it all up, got everyone happy, and they played really good football. And I think they went about 5 games 5 wins in a row. So yeah, that was really good. Not only do the fans love Pereira because of his brilliant football, his brilliant ability to get points, and how he's turned Wolves into a team which is hard to play against, the fans also love him because Vitor Pereira loved the fans. He actually went into Weatherspoons in the city centre and had a pint with the fans, which it's really special, and that connection he has is really important. I think personally, Vitor Pereira, the Wolves manager, is one of my favourite persons in football at the moment. But however good he was, there's obviously things to talk about which isn't as good because they did lose Cunha and they did lose Ryan Nori. And Cunha last season got 21 goals and assists, and Ryan Nori got 11 goals and assists. That is a big chunk of Wolves' technical ability which is gone. So that's going to be a miss. Those two players, Ryan Nori at left wing back, Cunha in that left 10, obviously it's going to be missed. But they've spent the money well. They've brought in Arias and Lopez. Obviously Lopez I think will start the first game because Arias has missed a bit of pre-season due to injury. They've brought in Per Lopez and Arias to replace Cunha, and they brought in Wolf, which is incredible. He's called Wolf. Wolves I like that a lot, and they've spent the money well. It's not like they've sold these two players and not spent the money. They've spent the money, and I will get onto Arias, but Arias and Lopez is two players, and it's two very good options to have. They spent the Cunha money really well in getting two players in to replace him. I really like that. So yeah, they spent the money well. Also something I want to look at is that midfield. It just sweeps for anything. It's really robust, and it is one of the best in the league in my opinion. Andre João Gomes, the Brazilian duo, I think they are really underrated, and a lot of shots for Wolves get relegated. I see there's clear problems in the squad. Santiago Bueno, not incredible. Totti, not incredible. However, not incredible. Martinezzi, not incredible. But I think there's just too much quality in Andre, in João Gomes, in Sean Larson, and in Agbadu for them to go down. They won't go down. They've got much more quality in their squad than teams like Sunderland, Burnley, and Leeds have. And people think that just because they lost two players who are very crucial, they'll just go down like that. I don't think they will. That midfield will get them points after points. Do I think they'll break into Europe? No. Do I think they'll go down? No. They'll have a bit of a nothing season, but they will play some good football, and they will see a team work hard. Maybe they do push into that top half, because with the midfield they've got, nothing is deniable. So yeah, as the last star player we're going to do on the video is João Gomes, 24 years old, very technical, very technical. He's a ball winner. He will take the ball off you without you even realizing, and he's got very good ball carrying as well, and he's very good on the ball, strong passing accuracy as well, and quite frankly, he is impossible to dribble past. He is robust, he is strong, he is robust. He will take the ball off you, and that back three, although the back three is quite weak with Totti and Santiago Bueno, no hate on Agbadu because I really like Agbadu. I'm not sure about Santiago Bueno, I'm not sure about Totti, and I don't think the wing backs are very good. Yeah, obviously we'll see Wolf, who I'm not sure about, but hopefully he's quite good at those. But one thing, I think if they didn't have João Gomes and Andre, they would be completely doomed. But I think the one thing is having that strong midfield, which really protects the defence. So it's a poor defence, but they've got a really good midfield protecting it. So at the end of the day, when you've got Gomes in the midfield, the defence doesn't actually have to do much work, because he will just as a team counters, he'll just take the ball off you, or if they're sitting in a low block, then he'll just stop the attack. So yeah, he's a really good player. For the one to watch, I've gone for John Arias. He came from Fluminense, and he is quite old. I think he's 27, 28. That's actually not that old, he's in his prime, but he's relatively old compared to the signings we've seen in the Brazilian league. Now,
the reason he wasn't signed by one of a top team, because he isn't young, he isn't attractive, he ain't flashy, he's not a star viewer, of course he's not, but he is a top talent. He got 4 goals, 12 assists last season, which is superb. He's got brilliant passing accuracy, and he's got brilliant link-up play, so he will work really well with Strand Larsen. And when Strand Larsen got 14 goals last season, obviously I couldn't behind him, but he's playing behind a really good striker, and you know, he's really good at keeping the ball. He doesn't make silly mistakes. He will make runs off Larsen. He's really calm and composed. So yeah, John Arias, the only reason he wasn't signed by a top team is because of his age. He's not a young Brazilian star, but he's a very good player, one of the top players in the league. It's a brilliant signing. I think that alone will replace Cunha. Having him alongside Paulo Lopez for and that's not even all the Cunha budget done. So I think they won't get relegated. I think, for me to be sure about it, I would like to sign a centre back, replace Santiago Breno, have someone really good next to Agbadu. It doesn't have to be. I'm not saying splash 50 million on there, but just get a player in there. And also, I'd look at that right wing back position. Whoever started every preseason game, but I'm not keen on him. But it won't go down. But I think a centre back signing is key for sure. But yeah, brilliant.